day.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of the Black Boy Poems Curriculum Online. I am Tyson Amir, the author of the books Black Boy Poems and the Black Boy Poems Curriculum. And in this episode, we're going to be focusing on the chapter Under a Different Light. This piece is deep, it's dope, something that I really enjoyed putting together, and it's a piece that I'm proud of. I think it brings something dynamic to the text, Black Boy Poems. The majority of the stuff that I write is straight ahead nonfiction, social, political commentary, where every line I can tell you exactly where it came from in my lived experience or the experiences of those close to me. It was something that I witnessed. It was something that I went through directly. But this piece is a little bit different. I mean, it's still based on things that I've gone through, or the people around me that I grew up with or in my community have gone through, but I wanted to tell the story in a different way. And so I'm inspired by a lot of different artists, different types of work. And so one genre that has always stood out to me is the genre of science fiction. And one of my favorite artists that uses the genre of science fiction a lot is a sister by the name of Octavia Butler. So if you're not familiar with her work, I would encourage you to get familiar with her work. So Octavia Butler uses she might use some time travel from time to time in her work, or she'll do stuff where she's talking about things that are happening in the future, some Afrofuturism, as some might say. It's powerful work. And so I wanted to tell a story using a very, very important science fiction motif. So as I'm sitting around with some of my producer partners one day, they're playing some beats, a beat comes on, and I start zoning out to the music. I get some ideas. And while the ideas are starting to percolate in my brain, I start thinking about lyrics from one of my favorite artists, Otis Redding. So in his song Sitting On, he talks about sitting at the dock of the bay. That's where the piece began for me. So my first line is, one day I was sitting at the dock of the bay, and this caddy walked up listening to some Dr. Dre, and I thought about walking away, and the piece continues from there. I didn't know what the story was going to be when I started writing. But as more lines began to reveal themselves, the story became clearer and more concrete for me. And it became what you're going to hear. And I'm not going to give you any spoilers now because I want you to read it and I want you to see the video and I want you to enjoy the piece. But it's powerful. It's a very important piece for me, and I hope it's going to be a very important piece for you. So without any further ado, Under a Different Light. Under a different light. One day, I was sitting at the dock of the bay, and this caddy walked up listening to some Dr. Dre, and I thought about walking away, but he caught me in an awkward way. It's hard to explain, but I decided to engage this man in a conversation. His hair was braided into some cornrows, and he wore a jacket for the cold with a cubic zirconian on his left earlobe, and he strolled like a gangster with that infamous hop in his step, face contorted by anger. My hypothesis was a relationship, or his pockets, they weren't looking right. He sat without acknowledging me, but it didn't bother me because it was obvious to see that he was preoccupied by thoughts running through his mind. So we all captive in this ball of confusion for a period of time. We trying to find solution invisible to the human eye. I kept one eye on his body language, but stayed focused on the most beautiful skyline that the creator ever painted, contemplating the beauties of this world. But I still noticed when he inhaled deep, he startled me once he started to speak under his breath, saying, man, something gotta change. This madness gotta end. I can't do this no more. He caught my attention because I know desperation when I hear it from prior experience. So I joined this conversation and gave him a salutation. Peace be unto you. I had seemed to catch him off guard, but he regained his composure quickly and said specifically, bro, what does that mean? I replied truthfully, the most important thing, because we all need peace to survive. And even though I don't know you personally, I still wish for peace in your life. And it's the first thing that I say instead of saying hi. And he was like, yeah, I dig that, but you one of them weird cats. You be sitting on prayer mats, meditating all day. I wish I was like that, but I lost my way some time ago and ain't found it ever since. I'm like, but there ain't no difference between me and you. It's true I may hold another view, but we the same breed, brother. We bleed the same things and have the same needs. Ain't none of us strong enough to walk this path all alone. And even the greatest of superheroes need some saving at time.
Yeah, well, at this time, I could care less whether I live or die. Matter of fact, man, I'm leaning more towards death. I got no job, a baby on the way, and I'm facing my third F. 25 with an L, I might as well end it here. My only fears be incarceration and failure. I don't want my child to grow up with that psychological fatherless paraphernalia. It happened to me. I never knew my pop, he had been locked down my entire life, and I figured all non-whites was indigenous to cell blocks. Mom struggled to keep us well stocked. I had to hustle to get my first pair of shell tops. Became a minimum wage slave as a bellhop. Worked at the local Marriott. I had to cater to the demands of old rich white people. They thought they was greater than me on some white supremacy, superiority complex. Say a nigga do that, boy grab this. Got me vexed, and one day I flexed on this old dude. But it wasn't my fault. Got hit with armed robbery and aggravated assault. When I never touched him, I was completely innocent. Still on my freedoms was suspended. I got released after 2 years without no incidents. On the inside, once on the outside, that F on my record stood out like a scarlet letter on my chest. No one would hire me because I'm a potential liability. Unemployment, violated my probation, got locked up again. Another disappointment. Can you see this vicious cycle? That's my life. Man, I work hard to do right, try to do things the legal way. Once again, I got probation and got a job as a mason. When I replied, no felonies on that application. But it was only a matter of time until they found out. With that background check, I got released. But they said they wouldn't tell the police that I lied, and for months I tried everything but playing. There was no opportunities. Let down my lady, who the only one to ever be true to me with a baby on the way. The only feasible way for me to get paid is the slang D. But selling dope to my people to make a living don't make no sense to me. I guess I got a conscience, right? I will move, but I ain't got no funds, so I'm forced to ride here under this California sun. And when I was young, I was told the streets here were paved in gold and the sky is the limit. But now I'm looking to end it in this frigid Pacific Ocean. Here's my white flag, I surrender, tell the white man he the victor again. I apologize to my family, my sisters, and all my friends, especially to my lady and my unborn child. And then he paused a while, so I let it sink in. I started thinking like, what would I do if I was him? If things had gone contrary to what I expected, instead of driving by, if that cop stopped, beat me down and had me arrested, if one of my parents died, if I was denied the chance to go to school, would I be who I am now? And before I could answer that, he told me something that I never forget as long as I live. Hey, bruh, I figured by now you'd be able to tell. But I guess I overestimated you, expected you to understand this tale. That's my life, but can't you tell that I'm just you under a different light? And if they ask you who it was that died here tonight, please make sure that they say my name right. You know it's pronounced Tyson. Tyson, what you trying to say that you me? Tyson, nah homie, you can't be. Who would you be? If things in your life had gone differently, if this game dealt you a hand that you couldn't handle, you went from rags to riches, from fame to struggling. Your life is precious, but what are you really coveting? Take a walk in someone else's shoes and experience their life. Who would you be under a different light? Who would you be under a different light? Who would you be under a different light?
Welcome back to the Black Boy Poems Curriculum Online. I hope you enjoyed the piece Under a Different Light. It's a deep message in there. One of the key themes that I tried to put in that piece, and I hope it comes across to you, is this idea of empathy. Who would you be under a different light? Our society is trying to condition us to see or feel more separation between people based on how they're being defined by society or how they might define themselves. Those titles that we put on ourselves are important titles, and they should be respected. What should also be understood and equally important is the fact that there are a number of similarities that we hold as people. And none of those titles that are either placed upon us by society or we might place upon ourselves make us any better or worse than anybody else. We all have to eat. We all have to drink to stay hydrated. We got blood flowing through our veins. We got to sleep. We all live. And we all will eventually die. So those similarities in the experience of who we are as a species are also very important for us to be able to recognize. And hopefully some of those things can bring us to that point of empathy where we can see and appreciate and begin to understand each other and learn how to work together as a people to try to create a more just and equitable society for everybody. And so the first learning experience that I want you to do is the poetry reflection learning experience. So as we've done in previous episodes, be brave, engage with the text, read the questions, think about your lived experience and how your lived experience connects with the content of the piece. Think critically. Don't be afraid to engage. And so now, I'll give you the poetry reflection learning experience. Welcome back. Thank you for taking the time out to do the poetry reflection learning experience. Again, I hope you were bold. I hope you were brave. You were not afraid to put your thoughts and your feelings on the paper. You were not afraid to think critically and engage with those questions on the paper. So transitioning now, we're going to be moving into the guided reading questions for the chapter Under a Different Light. So with all the guided reading questions, I'm trying to put some questions in front of you that will make you think critically, but then also will keep you focusing on certain points in the text, in that chapter essay, that I think are important for you not to miss. So I give you the guided reading questions for Under a Different Light. Welcome back to the Black Boy Poems curriculum online for the chapter Under a Different Light. I hope that the guided reading question learning experience gave you an opportunity to really engage more with the text, to think critically, to reflect more, and to pull out deeper meanings that I put in the poem Under a Different Light, and of course I put in the essay. And as you know, the goal is we want to engage with information in a revolutionary way, so it can transform us, and then we can work to use that information to transform our society to make it more just and equitable for everyone. We need more empathy. We need to not put up walls or create more distance between each other as people. It's okay for me to be who I am. It's okay for you to be who you are. The differences between us should not divide us. Those are opportunities for us to understand each other better, and then to figure out how to work together as people to create that more just and equitable society. And I hope after reflecting on the poem and reflecting on the information in the essay, you have a deeper understanding and appreciation for that. And that is something that you want to do as a person. So thank you again for spending time with us here at the Black Boy Poems curriculum online. Power to the people.
One day, I was sitting at the dock of the bay. This cat walked up knocking the Dr. Dre. I thought about walking away, but he crossed me in an awkward way. Hard to explain.